Hello, this is Dr. Hazel-Grace Yates, and I am joined here with one of my favorite humans on the whole entire planet. Yes, the whole planet. This is Sean Patrick Marr. Hi, Sean Patrick.
Hey, hi. So good to be here with you.
Yes, and we are here because we're going to talk about what is healing the divide, focusing on sexuality for men and women together. And I want to pass it to you, Sean Patrick, and you've been touring the country with me, leading this for hundreds of people. Why are you passionate about this work?
I'm passionate about this work because it feels like some of the most important work that we're doing collectively right now. And it's been pretty obvious with the Me Too movement and all the intensity of that upheaval that this is something that's been in the dark and in the shadows for far too long. And there's just simply not enough opportunities for us to have really vulnerable and honest conversations about what it is to be sexual beings walking the planet right now. And it feels so important that we bring more of this out into the light so that it can be healed just from being seen and just from being given attention. So it just feels like probably the most important work and impactful work that we're doing on the planet collectively right now.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, and hearing you say that, I'm reminded that this last weekend, my friend Jonathan Van Matre, I don't know how to say his last name actually, he defined healing in the moment spontaneously, and I loved it, which is, for him, healing is having access to better.
Mm.
So simple, and it's brilliant. And I want to share my why, which, yes, I ditto what you just said, Sean Patrick. And I think the thing that people find interesting, fascinating about me is I actually have a passion that men have an opportunity to talk about their experiences, about their sexuality, about the goodness and about the hard times, both of it, because I feel like that isn't talked about enough. And there's a lot of pain that's being suppressed and repressed there. And women just don't know. Women don't know what it's like because it's not a common thing. Men aren't invited. It's not culturally like a normal thing for men to talk about what it's like to be them. And so when I started this project many years ago, that it was only that. And then years later, I actually was asked by other people, be like, hey, what about the women's circle? And so then once we invited both the men's share and then the women's share, I got to experience the profound power of getting to share the stories with my sisters, but also having this hugged, being supported by men around me. And I had a cathartic experience that I had been facilitating for men for so many years. So those are some of my whys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and hearing that, I actually just am reminded of how many times people come in with preconceived notions of what the other, what the other gender, what their experience is around sexuality, and what they have this expectation based on media and pop culture and all these things of what they're going to expect. Especially, oftentimes, women for the men, they're expecting men to be how men are often portrayed, and very often seem to be impacted by the depth and the level of vulnerability and the willingness to share their truth, and just feeling like I've never heard men share about that aspect of sexuality, and just seeing the reframe, cultural reframe on their faces as they're sharing feedback at the end is just phenomenal. Amazing.
And in hearing that, I'm reminded of my friend Chelsea Woodward, who is a magician. And I said, why do you like magic? And she says, it helps you change the perspective of your reality. And really, that's what this process does for women with women, women with men, men with men, men with women. It's magic. It really is magic. So I know we've been talking about it, about it a little bit. So I would love to hear you share what it is.
Sure. The what is, it's the safest possible container that we can create to foster an opportunity for men to share about their sexuality by being witnessed by women, and women to share about their sexuality by being witnessed by men, compassionately witnessed, just holding space, really being very, very present to each person's share. And it's basically an inner circle of whoever the sharing circle is, be it men or the women. And then there's an outer circle that's just there to hold the space compassionately for them, so that we can all have the opportunity to kind of spiral down into the depths of our own cathartic motion of sharing our own stories, whether that be challenge and trauma or elation and celebration. You know, the whole gamut is present and available in these circles. And it just gives us an opportunity to hear each other, to be seen, to be witnessed, and to let go of what might be the stories that we just carry with us, because there's just not another space for us to get the opportunity to share it and let it go, set it down off of our own mantle.
Yeah, it was very succinct, well said, thank you. And the what, I mean, maybe this is going to a little bit of the why also, but to me, it's like we as men and women have co-created these wounds together, and we think that we're so different, and we kind of like doing the blaming game. And then to me, it's like this gentle unwinding of actually seeing what's really there, and what's actually there is a lot of sameness. And it's in that space of sameness, of like, oh, we're actually connected, and we're actually belonging, and we actually aren't enemies, and there's actually beauty here. So now I want to share just a few, if this is very spontaneous that we're doing here, there's not a plan. I want to talk about a few moments that I remember, significant experiences from doing these circles for the last couple of years. My share is actually the first time I did this, which was in Boulder many years ago. And we didn't know what we were creating. It was the first time it had ever happened, and it was only the men sharing. And I will never forget the feeling and the moment this woman shared. She said, I came in tonight with a hard heart towards men, and assuming that they all wanted one thing, and that they were all the problem, and they were all the same. And I'm leaving with a soft heart towards them, and I had no idea that we were actually so similar. And I just like imagine that woman now going in the world with a softer heart for herself, but also towards the men that she's meeting out there in the world. And so that was the thing that fueled me to have this become more of a thing that it is now. So that's my memory. Sean Patrick, do you have a memory that stands out to you?
In this moment, it's not really a single memory, but a very common experience that I hear a lot for many of these circles that we've held. And that's people showing up feeling a little unsure, like, am I going to share? Am I going to, how am I going to feel in this space? How am I going to feel safe? And, we do as much as we possibly can to create the safest possible container. And so often people leave saying, I've never shared that story with anyone. Like, I've never shared this. And to see the light back in their faces, as if they showed up carrying something that was dark and heavy, and just the opportunity to be seen and release that, it just shifts something in them, and they walk away with like a light, like they're a little lighter on their feet. And just to hear people share that this was the opportunity for them to express something that they've been carrying for so very long, it's just absolutely magical. Absolutely magical.
I mean, it's a miraculous thing that consistently we've had people almost in every circle say, I've never said this to anyone. And they say that out loud to a group of people, to a group of men, and to a group of women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And actually, as you say that, I'm reminded of one of the first circles you and I ever did. It was in San Antonio, and this guy, when he came in, he was like a robot, and it seemed like his robot was turned off. And it was almost as if he didn't even choose to share. He didn't even he chose to not share or even sit in the sharing circle, which is a possibility, by the way. I almost kind of forgot that he was even there. And then when we did the closing circle, when he was sharing, it was like he had come alive, and it was this expressive human that was saying how much he wants to be in the sharing circle next time. And you remember this, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was extraordinary. And that was just him sitting in the witness role. So, anything else? Oh yeah, we already mentioned this a couple times, but nobody has to share anything. And is there anything else that we haven't mentioned that you want to touch on?
Oh, probably tons, but I think that's probably pretty sufficient for now. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we often said is, if you're considering, is this something that I should go to or not? And if you're feeling scared or confronted or resistant, that this is maybe probably for you, actually. And yeah, so if that's there for you, lean into that edge. And also, you can always ask us questions about the process. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. But we would love to see you at Healing the Divide. Thank you all.